Well, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. We're sure that you will be blessed by tonight's content. Obviously, we have Ben and Hannah Randall to share with us tonight on how to save money, budget our finances, and hopefully for some of us get out of debt or stay out of debt. We're so glad that you guys were able to be here. We hope that you get lots out of it. Feel free to ask lots of questions, and more importantly, feel free to refill your plates, get lots of food. We got a little bit of extra, so we want to make sure that we don't take it all home. Yes, eat everything we have and then eat more what we have.
That's why I'm here, is for ice cream sundaes.
Exactly. So you can't go wrong. And without further ado, we'll begin with some prayer, and then you guys can jump right in.
Cool.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for the people here and the families and those families that are yet to come. Lord, we just thank you that you are a provider and you are a protector, and that you provide lovingly for your children, that you provide for each of us. Lord, we just want to be good shepherds and of your resources that you give us. And Lord, we just ask that you help us to learn how to be a good shepherd, that you help us to learn how to be responsible and faithful in all that you provide us. And Lord, we just thank you for teachers that can help us to grow in our understanding. And we thank you for opportunities where we can learn how to be the best believers that you call us to be. Amen. Without further ado.
Thanks, George. Hi, I'm Ben Randall. This is my wife, Hannah. I'm assuming you guys know who we are if you're here. We just kind of put together a PowerPoint presentation, really quickly. Just kind of, I can feel a little underqualified to talk about this type of thing. I mean, I do work in finance, but, whenever I'm like giving other people advice, I'm like, you could do this, but really do whatever you want. I don't. So, you can feel free to ask questions. If you have questions in the middle of it, raise your hand or say something, because chances are if you're asking a question, someone else has the same question, and we'll address those.
Can I get a water bottle?
Okay, I got one right here.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Or if you don't want to interrupt, if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can always just write your questions down. We'll have a time for questions at the end. So, all right, I guess we can kind of talk about. We'll move on and talk about what we're going to be covering tonight.
Might have to look up at the.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, I'll look up. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover how to spend money, and we're going to be talking mostly about needs versus wants. And we'll kind of get into that. We'll talk about how to make money, which seems pretty self-explanatory, but in today's economy, it can be a little more complicated than it used to be. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how to save money, where, when, and how to save. Let's see, what do we got next?
You can do the next one.
Yeah, you can just push it on. Sorry.
It's okay.
Here we go. All right. So let's talk about, kind of why we're doing this. So the reason why we care about this type of thing is because money problems can put unnecessary stress on, just about every aspect of your life. It can, if you're married, it can put a lot of stress on a marriage. It can put a lot of pressure on your kid's future, because, a lot of, it's a big help to be able to, that's really the American dream, right? Is to, be able to pass something on to your kids that maybe you didn't have.
As opposed to passing on like financial problems. Right,
as opposed to, passing on more burdens. And then also it affects our physical well-being, because, it's just really stressful, and stress affects your, like when I get stressed out,
You don't need to know.
My stomach gets all weird. But then also having more money means that you can give more, and obviously we're part of a church that's very, very successful, and we're blessed to be in this great building. But there are, costs to being in a building like this, and so it's people that attend the church that are able to give. And so when we are more comfortable and confident in our financial standing, then we're able to sort of give more away and give more to people in need. So. There's, if you could click it on, sorry. Okay, so yes, let's talk about what tonight is not about. So tonight is we're not going to be talking about the prosperity gospel at all, because I am adamantly against the prosperity gospel. It's basically the prosperity gospel is if you do these things and you give this much to the church, then God's going to give you money, and you're going to have a nice car, and you're going to have a nice house, and all these things. That's not the gospel. Gospel is very much the gospel is living right and giving your heart to the Lord now, so that when we move on to the next life, that's the reward that we're working for now, is obviously when we leave this earth.
Treasures in heaven.
Yes, treasures in heaven. So let's talk about what tonight. And I've got a scripture up here. This is an awesome scripture. And I just said we're not going to tell you that you need to be rich. So the scripture is Matthew 6:19 through 24, and this is the Message version. It says, "Don't hoard treasure down here on earth, where it gets eaten by moths and corroded by rust, or worse, stolen by burglars. Stockpile treasure in heaven, where it's safe from moth and rust and burglars." Isn't it obvious? The place where your treasure is the place where you most want to be and end up being. Your eyes are the windows, and this. When I was reading this verse, I thought of A Christmas Carol. Have any of you ever seen that movie? And Scrooge is like, he's all hunched over and he's all grouchy or whatever. This was the image that I got. Your eyes are windows into your body. If you open your eyes wide in wonder and belief, your body fills up with light. If you live squinty-eyed in greed and distrust, your body is a dank cellar. If you pull the blinds on your windows, what a dark life you will have. And this is probably the most powerful part. You can't worship two gods at once. Loving one God, you'll end up hating the other. Adoration of one feeds contempt for the other. You can't worship God and money. And I kind of had a revelation when I was reading through these scriptures. I used to always think that these scriptures are talking to rich people. If you're like, rich people are the ones that are, greedy, and they're hoarding money all for themselves and they're not giving it away. But like, rich people don't care about money. Like, they have money. They're not worried about it. Who he's talking to here is, people who every day they're like, what am I going to do? And so what we're mostly trying to talk about tonight is that money's just a tool for you to use. And it's very easy when you need money and you're stressed about money to just get wrapped up in that and not, we're supposed to have faith. And so hopefully tonight we teach you some principles that will make your financial life a little easier for you. But then also, that's basically the point of showing you that scripture, is just to realize that, it's basically saying, don't worry so much about money that it takes away from your spiritual life. So, and that's basically that slide right here. Money is learning that money is a tool. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, and then helpful tips on how to use the tool. So now let's talk about how to spend money. So we're going to talk about needs. I don't know. Do you want to talk?
Yeah,
I've been talking a lot.
Yes, you can take a drink of water.
Great.
So needs, we kind of thought that they were kind of broken down into two categories: fixed amounts and flexible amounts. So fixed amounts would be like housing. Some of you don't have this expense, which is awesome. That's a great time of life to be in. All right, don't take it for granted. So housing, like mortgage or rent, your cell phone, something Ben had said before, and he took it off the slide, but we should still mention it. Because when you're looking at your financial state and, financial goals that you might have, or just like whatever reason you're here, whatever reason money is like on your mind or whatever, the way that you're going to get to those goals is by increasing your income and decreasing your expenses. So something to consider with cell phones is...
Yes. The dumb phone.
Using a dumb phone instead of a smartphone. We just have to throw it out there. It's controversial, but we're here to just talk about the tough things.
Yeah. So we're talking about needs and wants right here. So I mean, it seems pretty self-explanatory, but like, needs are obviously things that you need, and wants are things that you just want. You don't need them to get through life.
Very good.
Right. So yeah, thanks. So, but the there's gray area in there. So like what's a need for one person might not be a need for another
Right,
person.
exactly.
So really tonight, like we want to give you kind of like a roadmap of, we're going to put some information in front of you. Some of it may apply to you, some of it won't. And so if you see something on here that we list as a need and you're like, I don't really need that,
Exactly.
then, like obviously if you don't own a car, you don't need car insurance. So, just keep that in mind, that it's just sort of like, to open a pathway in your mind.
Right. For you to fill in
for you to
the
think about,
blanks
for you to fill in the
and-
gaps. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that's the difference between needs and wants.
Yes, right. So another need like internet, car insurance, car payment, that kind of thing. Tithing, we also added as a need, which we think is an important aspect, that when you are strapped for money, sometimes one of the first things to go is your tithe, is something that you feel like it's expendable. So we just wanted to take like a minute to just reiterate how important tithing really is, because we were talking about how it is actually a way that you're giving to the community, because your church uses that money for outreach. And if you aren't tithing because you question like where the tithe money is going, ask questions, find out, especially like at this church, whatever church you go to, they will be transparent. And if they're not, that is a red flag. But if they're transparent about what the money goes to, you should trust, where the money is going. And I would say it's not a reason, like not trusting where your tithe is going is not a reason to not tithe, but a reason you should question whether you're at the right church or not. So that's what I would say about tithing and just feeling confident in, the place that you're giving that money. Another thing about tithing is if you find yourself not tithing because you just keep forgetting, or you don't use a checkbook, and Sunday mornings when the bucket goes around, you're like, because that's kind of where we were at. We just kept forgetting to pay to tithe, and we didn't like that. We wanted it to be part of our daily, monthly giving. So what we do is we use Bill Pay, which is something you can use through your online banking on your phone. This is what we have chosen to do after being inconsistent. And if it's difficult for you to find out, literally just ask. Just ask us, ask anybody, call your bank.
Sammy's also a great resource for that.
Who? Sammy. Matt Brown is the manager of a bank. Like, there are a lot of people in the church that can help with that kind of thing. But call a grandkid, call your bank, or ask us. That's a way that you can just have it automatically come out if you find yourself not tithing just because you forget.
And that's why we put it in. So up there we have fixed amount and flexible amount. So we broke it down into those two categories because, obviously your rent, your cell phone bill, and your internet, and your tithe, and this is why tithe wouldn't change. So those aren't going to change from month to month, whereas other things would change from month to month. And the reason that we say that tithe won't change really from month to month is because most people pretty much get paid the same paycheck every couple weeks, every month, or whatever. And for us, doing the bill pay option, which is pretty much everyone has access to from online banking. So I'm not sure if anyone here has bank accounts, or I'm sure most of us do. Every bank has a way for you to access it online. So you just go online. It's literally called Bill Pay everywhere. It's a separate company from the bank, and they basically, what you do is you can type in who you want this check to go to, and how much you want it to go, and when you want it to go, and there's all sorts of criteria that you can filter down and build in there.
It's specific.
Yeah, make it exactly specific. So basically, we have it to a set amount that comes out on a set day every month, and it's just, we know that a check is being cut to Family Worship Center, and it's very helpful, and it's very easy, and it's so much. It makes our lives a lot easier because the plate would come through, and we're like, oh crap, and we're trying to write a check out.
Yeah, the worst is when you only have the 30-second offering prayer
Right.
to write a whole check out. I would rip it. It was not.
Yeah, and then we just don't carry checks anymore.
Yeah.
We don't carry checks because this is 2019.
You're allowed to still carry checks, okay? Anyway, so just real quick, going to finish what's on that slide. Flexible amounts, things like groceries, personal hygiene, cosmetics, beauty, household stuff, electric, gas. Something also that's really important is debt repayment.
Yes.
I really feel like you can't be financially free actually without that, without looking at your debt as an important thing to pay off.
Yeah.
Making it a priority, I would say, is definitely good.
Yeah, and what I would put into the debt category, like I wouldn't put housing, like your mortgage doesn't go into the debt category.
I mean, it
Like,
could.
it could. If you want to put it
go-
in there, absolutely. But I'm thinking more of like credit card debt, or because a lot of people have credit card debt or student loan debt. That's another huge one.
Or car payments.
Car
I mean,
payments.
it's all,
Yep.
technically, it's all technically debt.
Let me see. Did we talk about that here?
Right here.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
So,
said, yeah.
so let's just talk a little bit about like paying debt off, because I'm, like I said, a lot of people have.
We
debt that
don't.
they do.
Neither of us went to college, so we don't have any student loans, which, going to college, you weigh the pros and the cons. For us, it's not what we did, and so we really had zero debt in our lives until we bought a house, right? Or did we have the van?
Yeah, we bought
had
a
the
van,
van. We bought a van and had to, we had a payment on that for a couple years, and then we bought a house.
Right.
So really, that's the only debt that we have, and I think that it really does help a lot. What you can the freedom, like to be able to spend your money on other things.
And there's all kinds of resources. We're not going to get super in depth about
Yeah.
how to pay things off, but there are some basic principles that you can abide by. So if you've got a ton of credit card payment, obviously that should be the last thing that you pay that month. Your credit card debt, because you need to pay your housing, you need to pay your internet, you need to pay all these other things, you need to buy your groceries. Because I've definitely heard of people who are I've got $50,000 in credit card debt, and I'm just gonna pay, but then they forget about their mortgage, and their mortgage doesn't get paid, and it's you got to get your housing taken care of. There's a hierarchy, what's the word I'm looking for? A ranking of things that get paid off. And to me, paying off credit card debt is, once you get through all of your needs, that's when you start paying your debt off. And really, just some helpful tips, start with the smallest bit. If you've got, a bunch of credit card debt and you got $10,000 in student loan debt or whatever, start with the one that's just I got $600 that I need to pay off on this, knock that one out. That way, you'll feel good about yourself. And then from there, kind of build it up. And some great resources on this are a guy named Dave Ramsey. I'm sure.
Never heard of him.
Yeah,
Just
a lot of people have heard of him. He's got a show. It's for free to watch on YouTube, which is awesome, and it's hilarious because he's really funny.
Is he funny?
Oh yeah, he's so sarcastic and hilarious. So I would highly recommend watching some Dave Ramsey videos, because he's got all sorts of methods on how to, how to set up your month. So you get your paycheck and you cash it. He literally a lot of times he'll deal with physical cash, because it's
You have
when you
a
have
set
your credit
amount.
card, it's really easy to just
Right.
that's my driver's license. It's really easy to just swipe, and I need this and I need that, and then the next thing you know, you're I just spent $350, or whatever it is.
Right.
So Dave Ramsey advocates, and it's a really great resource for a really great idea for a lot of people. You get your money for the month, and you have your envelopes. You have your housing, you have your groceries, you have your, maybe you have
Cheese and cracker fund.
yeah, yes. You have a cheese and
Khaki
cracker fund,
pants.
and you just literally split it up into the envelopes. And so that, this $1,000 is going to my rent, and this $500 is going to groceries, and all, and so you're able to, when that envelope's gone.
Right.
got
If you
no
have
money.
a problem saying no, and
Yeah.
if spending is your tendency, it's a great way to kind of curb that.
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
And he definitely advocates not using credit cards,
Right.
Because it is really easy to get into credit card debt, and then you
Yeah.
have interest that you're paying on top of the money you actually spent, and so it's like a rabbit hole. So if that is definitely something that you are worried about, I would say not using credit cards is probably going to be your better bet until you feel like you have the self-control.
Yeah, right. Credit cards are super tempting, and they'll say 12 months interest free. It's oh, free money. But then that 12 months goes real quick, and then you have $3,000 that you have to pay off. Otherwise, you get the interest rates on these credit cards.
It is insane.
It's ridiculous. We just signed up for a new one, and I'm reading through the fine print. I'm 24%. Are you kidding me?
So we're doing the credit card like hoping to get, not hoping to get, getting like miles and like points and like
Yeah.
there are total benefits to having credit cards, but you have to know that you can handle
Yeah,
it.
I'm like super careful.
Well, he's like, we gotta put $4,000 on it so that we get this and that, and I'm just like, babe, okay. So if we're already spending the money on like bills, great, we'll put it on the credit card, but
Yeah.
not like $100 to Home Depot every week.
Right. So in case you didn't notice from that interaction right there, I'm the spender in the family. I'm like, if I have $20 in my wallet,
It's
that sucker's
gone.
getting spent, like
So that's what he's teaching the financial freedom seminar. Duh. So you can go to the next slide
Yes.
because I think I added one. Yeah. Okay. So how to cut costs on
Yes.
bills. Sometimes you can't do much other than shop around, other than figure out which different providers you can get for, your internet, your cell phone, all that kind of stuff.
Car insurance is a good one.
Yeah.
It's very competitive. Most car insurance companies actually Bill's probably a lot more qualified to talk about this. It's a very competitive market. And so, a lot of them are, for the most part, they're the same, but they might cut you some slack to, to try and take you away
Negotiate a
from
little
somebody
bit.
else. So-
Yeah, so definitely your fixed bills, shopping among providers is basically how you can cut costs there. But the flexible ones, really just like that's where you're spending money on things that you can adjust the usage of. So like electric, watch your electric and like that kind of stuff. But then also
lights off.
Yeah, all the
I feel
stuff your
like-
dad tells you to do all the time.
My dad is like an expert at cutting to a fault.
Yeah.
He literally has a timer on our hot water heater
On his
at
house.
home. So it was like, you better not be wanting to take a shower between the hours of like 10 and 7
night
p.m.
and 7 in the morning.
Right, yeah. It's like, because you're going to get a cold shower. It's
Yeah.
really incredible.
He
that
even
he's
thought
able-
turning his like wireless modem off was like saving.
Yeah, he
some
would-
kind
he
of-
would go around and
you
unplug
couldn't
his-
use the internet like
internet at night.
at like 11 at night. It was like
Yeah,
okay,
he's a pro.
Dave.
But he told me, he was like, with the water heater thing, he's like, Ben, I saved $13 a month. And I'm like,
There you go.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a little ridiculous, but it's, it's not nothing.
Right, exactly. Another thing is like where you shop, like not buying like name brand stuff. Aldi is such a great, place to shop as far as groceries and stuff.
Aldi.
We do love
I
Aldi.
love Aldi. It's great.
So yeah, like that kind of thing. Like just not spending like, not going for like the high end of whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't need to have Rice Krispie treats. I can have, crispy rice instead of Snap Cracker. What did we come up with last night?
I don't remember.
We were talking about Rice Krispie
Off-brand
treats.
cereals.
Yeah, off-brand cereals and how funny the names are. It's like instead of Count Chocula, it's like, Duke
Baron-
something. Yeah.
Baron Cocoa.
Yeah, Baron Cocoa or something. You're like, get out of here.
You can go to the next slide. We can be done with that.
You don't need to see any more of that.
Okay, wants. Do you want to talk about wants?
Sure.
Tell me what you want.
So again, talking about needs and wants, it's pretty self-explanatory. And the best person to be able to differentiate between what's a want and what's a need is you, because you are you. Is that?
Yeah, that's good. Keep going.
Yeah. So obviously, wants in my mind, in our mind, would fall under like entertainment, like going to concerts, going to movies, eating out, just shopping for things that you don't really need. I kind of want to go to the mall today, and again, next thing you know, you're spending like $80 or whatever at Old Navy. It's the Dave Ramsey method of splitting your money, splitting your paycheck up into envelopes is super helpful here, because sometimes you might end up with, if you're like really strapped for cash and you're using the envelope system, you're, for whatever reason, a bill might be cheaper and you have an extra $20 and it's like, babe, let's go see a movie tonight. And so you're able to kind of treat yourself. The more that you kind of cut back and the more you know exactly what you're paying, really the more you're able to do fun things.
Whatever your
Yeah.
whatever your goal is, whether it's do more fun things or you want to save up for
Right.
this more expensive thing, travel, house
Right.
stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
And then like home entertainment would be stuff that we consider wants, like cable and streaming services and stuff. We probably are like more on that lower end of we don't pay for Netflix, you know, like we try and streamline it as much as possible. But Netflix might be a need for you, but gaming stuff, you know, music like Amazon Music, Apple Music, those kind of things, you decide what you use enough to justify paying for that.
Right.
service.
The world that we live in now is, I think it's really awesome with technology. It's like if you're able to learn kind of a little bit about technology, you're able to like utilize a ton of content. Like YouTube has so much content out there for free, and it's really awesome. You know, like Amazon is another one. Like we pay for Amazon Prime. It's $100 a year. You get like tons of benefits with Amazon Prime. You know, you can get things shipped to your house for free in 2 days, which is ridiculous to actually think about. You know, they've got all sorts of movies and music, and even like, you know, streaming music. Gaming's different because, well, no, I mean, you can play games for free too. So if you're into video games, there's all kinds of video games out there for free. I mean, I'm not the best person to talk about this,
He doesn't
but like
know
I think
anything
like
about it.
Apex Legends is free to use, right? And you just
Thank
pay
you,
for
Colin.
stuff in there. See, Apex Legends, I'm hip. I know what's up.
Yeah.
Nobody's playing Fortnite anymore. Get out of here. But yeah, there's all sorts of ways to get free entertainment now, which is awesome. I mean, 15 years ago, you didn't have it. It's like you either had to pay for cable or you had the bunny ears.
Well, and another thing that I didn't think about with, because I thought about it with Netflix, because we actually have somebody else's account. So you can go in with other people that you trust, on certain things. I know somebody else who they are on like a cell phone plan, a bunch of, you know, couples, and then they just like Venmo each other, you know, whatever their portion of the bill is and that kind of thing. Like there's ways to get creative with keeping your bills, you know, really low.
Yeah, that's a really great example. Like T-Mobile, if you want to cut your cell phone bill, like you can have a family plan with literally anybody, and it can, you know, obviously, like she said, you don't want it to be like
you wanna
the
trust
homeless
them,
guy
you
down
don't
the
want
street,
it to-
but like
Or like a person that you know is not gonna like
Right.
chip in and pay their fair share or something. You
Right.
know,
yeah,
gotta
so
be
it's
firm.
very helpful. And yeah, with things like Venmo, you know, you can send money like
Right.
that, and I think it's free to use Venmo. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's move on.
I don't think they take a thing. Anyway, so like gym memberships, home decor, salon services, like your nails done and hair colored, all those kind of things are wants, you know? You don't have to have it. Sorry, Bella. I do need a haircut, but and I really want a manicure and a pedicure. But anyway, so ways to cut costs of wants. The first thing would be prioritize what's most important and cut certain wants out.
Cut
you
cable.
know,
I don't like cable. Cable's not.
so we don't have cable. You know, like just honestly, if you can justify it, awesome. But you're the one who has the financial goal. Like I don't benefit from you like not having Netflix if you really want Netflix. But it's just realizing that you have to work with what you have and you decide what's most important to you.
Right, and the little things add up really quickly.
Yeah.
Like the goal that we kind of set out for ourselves is we want our monthly payment, the things that we pay every month, to be as low as humanly possible. So that was like cutting out things like Netflix, like, you know.
We didn't
don't-
have internet for like 3 years, our
Right,
first
yeah.
3 years of
it
marriage.
was, you know, things that we lived with it. It was fine. Like it was, you know, or going back to like the smartphone thing. Like I have a dumb phone and it costs like $20 extra a month on
Maybe.
our. She's got an iPhone, but
Right.
you know, the other thing, I guess we'll talk about that later with the smartphones, with like the wasting time. Or no, should we talk about it now? Anyway, so. But like we have internet at home, we have an iPad at home that we bought like
it changes
years ago.
as you decide what you
Right.
need.
So like for me, and it works great for me. I have full internet access at work that I do not pay for, and it's awesome. And I have internet access at home. And so really the only time that I'm without internet is when I'm driving to work or home from work. So anyway, that's why this works for me. I totally get it. You know,
Right.
So
Some people
many
need
other
it for a
people
job,
Need a
they need a
smartphone. Yeah,
smartphone,
right. You
definitely.
need email or whatever.
But don't
So,
feel weird if you don't have one, because
Right.
hey, Ben doesn't have one. But
I'm a little weird.
yeah.
Thank
So
you. Yeah, I beat you to the joke.
so moving on, doing certain things yourself instead of paying for someone else to do it. Again, I'm going to pick on Bella. Paint your own nails, like literally, like things that if you decide, okay, I don't need this, try and do it yourself. Anyway. YouTube is an amazing free resource, like Ben said, on how to learn how to do stuff. If you're like, I kind of have a knack of doing this, try doing it, yourself before you have somebody else.
Except maybe patios.
Well-
I just tried to do a patio, and it was.
It's not awful. I mean, it's a little bumpy, but I think it'll be okay.
I
It
guess.
saved us a lot of money.
Yeah, my back is just. I have a newfound respect for people that put in patios and do concrete work because it is really not fun.
Brutal. And then another thing is looking for cheaper ways to get stuff through yard sales, thrift stores, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
You can find amazing deals on there, and you can do it safely, and not get into trouble with Craigslist and
Yeah.
stuff. But definitely keep those options in mind, even though it's so easy to just like go on Target.com and have something shipped to your house because you don't have to get out of your pajamas. But do what you can. Okay, next slide, please. Well, yeah. Okay. Did we?
Yeah, we're talking about budget.
Okay, yeah. So I kind of already said this.
Yeah,
a
you,
little
you
bit.
do this. She actually does all of our
and
budgeting.
I'm not going to
so.
go as in detailed. I don't know. It's like you want to help, but then you don't want to be like, okay, that's too much information. So I was going to talk a little bit about how we budget ourselves. Obviously, you start with your monthly income, then list your fixed and flexible amount needs and your wants by order of importance, and your expenses should be less than your income with some room to spare. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is a screenshot with no information on it other than to show you how I decided budgeting was going to be best for me to visually see is we have multiple bank accounts. So we have like our main checking and savings. We have a side business, a DJ business. So Ben works full time, and then that's like our side business. So we have two, like a checking and a savings for our business. And then what you see there is vacation checking and vacation savings, and that's kind of where the magic happens. Basically, the only reason we even had the vacation checking account was we set that up when we went to Europe on a trip because we wanted to use a separate debit card
This
instead
was
of.
before we had kids, by the
Yeah.
way. So
We want to get back there, but financial goal.
Financial goal.
So we wanted to use like a separate debit card overseas as opposed to our main debit card that's connected to our main checking account. So that's the only reason we literally set up that vacation checking account in the first place. But then the savings account is where we put like extra money. So like anything, like we are musicians, so we do, we'll get money from playing music live, tax returns, like anything that's any extra money that we didn't get through work or DJing, we put in the vacation savings account. It's not always for vacations, but it's like just the idea of like extra, savings account, a lot of times that money is for stuff that's like auto repairs, which we'll talk about savings, but that's for like less fun savings.
Can I jump in here really quick?
Yeah,
So let's talk about. So obviously, this is a screenshot of online
Yeah, my
banking. What I
phone.
was talking about before. So I used to be in banking. I think the industry has changed a little bit, but it used to be like there's banks that it almost costs you to have an account there. They'll say if you don't have $1,000 and if your account goes below $1,000, we'll charge you a $10 service fee or whatever. So we bank with a company called Harleysville Bank, and they don't have any of those fees. You can get a checking account that is straight up free.
There can be $0 in any
Right.
of these
There can be
accounts,
$0.
and nothing
in
bad
there.
happens.
Yeah, nothing bad happens to you. Obviously, if you overdraw it, you get a
Yes.
you get a non-sufficient funds fee, which has happened, and
Not
it's
fun.
not fun.
Not fun at all.
But so that's a screenshot of how we have it set up. So the reason there's multiple checking accounts there for us is because it's free for us to do that.
Yeah, that's true. So depending on where you bank,
Right. Depending on where you bank, keep that in mind. They might charge for extra checking accounts. But, I mean, I would say, man, you should be banking somewhere else because there's multiple banks that you can have multiple checking accounts for free.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, George. So what I would look for is honestly just that, like, because every other bank, like, we don't ever go into the bank unless we absolutely have to. So like we don't care if there's not a bank in our area or whatever. I mean, really, it's nice to have Harleysville Savings Bank's a perfect example. There's only 7 branches. And so if you're not in Harleysville or like the 30 miles surrounding Harleysville, there's not a branch anywhere.
To go to.
Right. But that being said, it's like you can take a picture of a check and deposit your check that
mobile
way.
deposit.
The other thing that Harleysville Bank does is you can withdraw from any ATM for free. So if you go to a Wawa or a Sheetz or something, you can get cash out of an ATM and they're not going to charge you the $2 or $3 fee. And actually, it's kind of cool. This is this is totally a commercial for Harleysville Bank.
It is, but hey.
If you take cash out of an ATM, so like I said, a lot of banks will, if you go to Wawa's not going to charge you to use that ATM. Your bank might charge you to use that ATM because it's not their ATM. However, but then obviously there's also multiple ATMs that charge you just to use that. Harleysville has a program where they refund you that fee. So I can, like with my debit card, I can go anywhere in the world and get cash out of an ATM. And if that ATM charges me $5, Harleysville Bank is putting that $5 back into my savings account, which is a really cool feature. And I mean, this is like a major. I used to work for them, and I still think they're awesome. It's a huge feature. So I know if you bank at somewhere like like Citizens Bank or something. I mean, obviously, I have nothing against Citizens Bank. I'm sure it's a great company. But they might charge you to use like a Wawa's ATM, and that's just a little ridiculous to me. So
those are just questions to ask. Go ahead, Jules.
Yeah. Oh, well, we didn't show any
It doesn't really
money.
say much except what I said.
I can't see how much you have in your account.
Yeah, I blanked out the available
Yeah, it's
amount,
super
'cause
small,
It's
sorry.
embarrassingly low. So there's not really a ton to see there.
Yeah,
except
it's
that
really
there's
just like
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different accounts.
Yeah, they're just
which
different
seems
accounts.
ridiculous, but
Right.
I like to see things separated. I think it can be really helpful. Okay.
Hey, thanks for asking the question, George, by
Yeah.
the way. So please, anyone, if you got a
Literally.
question, and Jules, if you got a question in the middle
And
of
if we're not looking at you because we're just looking at each other because we're nervous, be like, "Yo, hey, over here," or tell Leah to point you out to us because she'll yell at us without hesitation. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so here's a little. Again, I don't have any.
it's super
I don't have
small,
any
sorry.
numbers, but I'm going to say it all. I don't have any numbers there. Any numbers you see there are dates, not amounts. So, okay, real quick.
Yeah,
I'm going to try and
she's the
say
budget
this.
person, so we're going to get super granular here for a second.
I'm worried if I should, but
No, do it. I
Okay.
say go there.
Okay.
Yeah, I say do
Okay,
it.
so we split up our fixed amount bills. Oh, wait, did I say that? Okay, so the vacation checking account has become where I transfer our bills money to.
Yeah, so really, it says.
It says vacation checking just because it has said that forever. And I just know that it's
Yeah.
the vacation checking account, but that's actually where
Yeah.
a lot of our bills. So yeah, with this whole technology and like bill pay, we don't like really send physical checks for bills and stuff like that. Like really a lot of it is like through just online payment. So I have any bills like that are connected to that checking account as opposed to our main checking account. So all the automatic payments and stuff come from that checking account. So Ben gets paid like biweekly. So there's 2 paychecks that come out, every month, essentially. Some months there's like 3 paid periods in a month and all that stuff. But for the most part, it's like 2 paychecks a month. So what you see there, it says first paycheck and second paycheck. So what I did was took our fixed amounts. So these are amounts that don't change. Our tithe amount, our internet, our phones, car insurance, they don't change throughout the month. Like they're always the same. So when
She does half of our mortgage.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that. So yeah, since our mortgage is our biggest account amount, I split that up into half so that I'm not, if your mortgage is $1,500, you're not like taking $1,500 out of your paycheck like right away. Since you don't need to, like you have a month essentially. So you can do this in any way you want. I do it in half because he gets 2 paychecks in a month, like I said. So first paycheck means when Ben's first paycheck of the month is deposited, I transfer this total amount. So the amount for half the mortgage and insurance, I do actually half the tithe. internet and phones, I transfer that amount into our vacation checking account, which is where it gets pulled from by whatever the provider is for our internet, which we have Verizon, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Go ahead. You got a question?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So mortgage that's basically like the loan we have for our house. So like, yeah, that's our housing. Yes.
And just so I don't think we're going to go over it, but if you do have a mortgage, if you talk to your company, when you're paying half and half, I'm assuming it's because it's not due until the second month is due. Right?
Yes.
Yes,
right, that's
exactly.
A good point.
Splitting it up, but if you're able to do that and you pay half and half, what you're doing is you're actually paying down on some of the interest before it's due, and it actually knocks like 8 years off your 30-year mortgage.
That's a really great point.
Yeah.
If you are looking at home ownership, even if you already own a home, by doing that, you can really knock some significant.
Yeah, like if that money is
cool.
already set aside for your mortgage, may as well get it, out of
Yeah.
there, and then like you're saying,
I didn't even know that. That's really cool.
I didn't think of that. That's awesome.
So.
Yeah.
So basically, to your point, like we say mortgage because that's what it is for us. It's literally just like us paying off
loan
what it
for
should
a
say is
house.
housing. Like it's,
Yeah, or
it could
rent
be
would
rent.
be the other,
Yeah, right. I guess it'd either be mortgage or rent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Lauren. So then the second paycheck means when Ben's second paycheck of the month is deposited, I transfer that total amount for the other half of the mortgage, car insurance, and the other half of the tithe to go into that account, which then gets pulled from. And the other dates, the other numbers you see there are the dates that those bills are paid, just so I can stay organized for when the money comes out. So like internet always comes out on the 10th of the month, around the 10th of the month, sometimes 9th or 11th, depending on like the day of the week. Phones always comes out 12th. You can usually choose what date like it comes out so that not all of our bills are paid on the same day. I like to have it more spread out throughout the month. And I just keep that there so I remember it and at a glance. This is just like in my notes in my phone so I can easily like look at it. So I don't know if that's like helpful at all. I just, to see things like organized and to see money coming out of my main checking account helps me know what is already spoken for, because if you just have a lump sum in there, it can be really hard to not just be like, I'm good,
Yeah,
I
I'm
got
getting
money.
a new pair of shoes this month.
But when you budget, which I guess something like all the things we were talking about before with like needs and wants and stuff, write it down. Like literally just take a couple minutes, not now, and like write down. There's so many different ways to budget and to actually like follow through with it. But like the first step, if you haven't, would just literally be write out and you can look online on your online banking and like see what your transactions are if you don't use cash and stuff like that, and really just see it in front of you, see what you're spending and see where you could be saving, and utilizing, like I said, especially if you're in a time of life where you really don't have many bills, like a lot of this that we're talking about doesn't apply to you and you're more like, I need to eat at Chick-fil-A less, like that's a great like place to be and take it seriously and literally stash away as much money as you can. Which I actually will get to something about that later. But
Okay, cool.
so let's talk about making money.
Yeah. Okay. So
that's
that was
all,
a
like,
long
how to-
time on how to spend money. But okay, the rest of it will move a little quicker because
Yes.
that obviously got super granular.
Yeah.
But so obviously
Can I get
making
more
money
water?
is go for it. Obviously making money is pretty self-explanatory. It's your job. It's what you do to earn money throughout the year, throughout the month, or whatever. So I'm not going to stand up here and say you should work this kind of job or you should do this type of work or anything like that because I don't know you. I don't know what you're good at. I don't know what you like to do. I can tell you what I've done and it's worked for me okay, but we're not going to get into that. But basically, here's some just helpful tips on how you can maybe make a little bit more money that can really ease some financial pressure where you already are, where you already work. So, it says in the Bible, you don't have because you don't ask, So what I found really, really helpful is literally just ask for a raise, say, for me, I don't know like how much my coworkers make. I don't know how much anyone makes in the company. So I just say, I went to my boss a couple times when I worked at Harleysville Savings Bank and just said, look, I don't make enough money. Like, I've got a wife, I now have a baby. Like, I need more money. And one time, I think they actually did give me a raise one time, which was awesome. The other thing you can do with your work is, literally ask them, like, what can I do to get you to pay me more? And that's a weird way of wording it, but like, what would you like to see me do?
What's stopping you
Yeah.
from me
Right,
being able
yeah.
to?
And they might be like, oh, well, you need this certification, or, I need you to show up an hour earlier and then you can get, or whatever, A lot of times, like my employer, they're kind of flexible with overtime. So, like, if I show up like 20 minutes early and start work, they're not going to say anything. If I show up like 40 minutes early, they might be like, hey, you're getting a little too much overtime. Stop doing that. So there's like a sweet spot in there in my situation. So maybe it means like, showing up to work a little bit early, getting a little bit of overtime, it really can add a lot. The other question, and honestly, like when I put this PowerPoint together, it was kind of like convicting to me. It's like, learn a valuable skill that applies to your job. And I've known that there's this certification that I should get and that I want to get. It's called
But
a
he got
series.
two other certifications. It was really hard and
was
not
really-
fun.
yeah.
And we have it behind us. So
Right. Studying for it is awful, and I hated every second of it. But I've known, like, I need to get my Series 24 if I want to move up. And so, that's like that kind of falls under the header of, ask what you can do to make more money. That might be like, I need you to get certified to be able to, I don't know, like do designs in concrete or something. I have no idea.
Okay.
But anyway, that's a bad example. Okay, so this
well,
is
here
the-
I
Oh, sorry, go
added
ahead.
here. Ben's. He's a very good example of this. Like when he worked at the bank, he did consistently like move up level to level, like as we, like needed more money. And he got basically to the max compensation. Like when we realized, all right, this is going to be
And they had a very clear path laid out for you.
Yeah,
It's like,
right.
if you do these amount of things, you get
this
these amount of
promotion.
raise and you get
Yeah.
this promotion. So it was really nice. I knew exactly what I needed to do. So that's something, side note, that's something you can ask your employer, like, I want to advance. What exactly do I need to
Right.
do to advance? Instead of this sort of like ambiguous thing, that's out there. So
Yes, and so then he needed to start a second job to compensate when I stopped working. So we were living that dink life, double income, no kids, and then Sully came along, and I stopped working, and so he started a second job. But once that, it was a delivery guy at Pizza Hut, so not exactly glamorous, but he loved it.
I
And
did
he
love it. It was super
honestly
fun.
just hard because he was just gone so much.
Yeah.
It was just hard. So it wasn't sustainable. So we knew change was necessary, which led to us what led him to looking for a better paying job. Like after he, exhausted all resources at his job where he was, it was like, okay, the future is not here. Now we need to look for a better paying job, like literally
Right.
change the job, and looking for a better suited side hustle.
yes. So I drove. I drove for Pizza Hut, and it was awesome, and I had a blast, and I loved it when it snowed because it'd just be me out there doing donuts in the parking lot and delivering pizzas. It was awesome. I loved it,
Listening to music
and there was nobody else on the road. Oh, it was phenomenal. So I really did love being a delivery driver. So that's a killer side hustle if you want to do that. So the other thing, let's see, what am I doing here? Yeah, okay, the art of the side hustle. So we found a side hustle that works great for us. And actually, a quick side note about the side hustle. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Leah. She was laughing
Side
at
note
you,
about the
babe,
side hustle.
not with you.
It's almost necessary a lot of ways in our economy. Like the days of you work 35 years at a factory and you get a pension and then you get a gold watch at the end of your time. Like those days are gone. They're long gone. And so it's almost like the future is you work a job, you maybe bounce around between jobs if you need to, but you also sort of have something you do on the side. So here's just some kind of helpful tips on what we found great about the side hustle is, you're good at something. Like you're good at, everyone has a thing that they're really good at doing, or like a particular type of work that they just are well suited for. So for us, we have a DJ business on the side. So like we're into music. I'm really into like, just recorded music and artists and all that stuff. But I also have like knowledge of like sound equipment. So this is just an example of like, so it was a great fit for DJing weddings. And so we kind of put ourselves out there. That's the other thing is, so combine that with a need.
Something you're good at with a need. That
Oh
you
yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah.
Like
right, yeah. So
DJing, it's not very competitive because there's not a lot of people that do it, especially
Right.
not like a husband and wife team. Like we brought something unique to it, and it suited our skills.
Yeah. So really, it's like if you work in concrete. I keep talking about concrete.
It's
I
on
don't
your
know why.
brain right now.
So if you work in concrete, maybe your side hustle is like, I do concrete patios for people. Again, patio. Sorry, I keep going. All right, I got to get patios out of my head. All right, so
You said like lawns earlier.
yeah, I don't know what's going on. That's what I've been doing is yard work for the last 3 weeks, and I'm just like. Anyway, so maybe you work for a company that does concrete work. Some Saturdays you do some work for people around you. You put some flyers up. That's just an example of like a side hustle. Like I do a little bit on the side.
Like
I don't need
freelance.
it. It's not my main thing, but it's a nice way to get an extra $100, $200 every month or whatever.
Right.
And don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Like literally, our DJ business started by us making a video, and it was kind of goofy, and like I look back on it and I'm like, man, I was a lot thinner and my hair was a lot shorter, and it's like,
We didn't know what we were doing.
we didn't
That's
know
how
what
you
we were
feel.
doing,
You
but we just put
feel
ourselves
like-
out there, and
yeah,
people
you
were like,
just have to start.
sure, we'll give you the most important day of our lives to screw up, and we
Well,
did.
you start with your prices really low, and that's
Right,
why
yeah,
they say yes to
so
you.
that's just
But-
our example of our side hustle, and it's worked really well for us. But there's something out there for you that's your side hustle that you could, make some decent
and
money at.
To that point, we kind of, I feel like right now is a big like follow your dreams, your job should be your passion kind of thing. They really downplay like, Ben saying that you hop back and forth between jobs doesn't mean like you don't have a loyalty to your job and you don't work hard and you don't stick it out through tough times and you're constantly just like, gimme. But the idea that like even if where the job that you're at is not like glamorous, you can still have an outlet through a side hustle where you like that's how we are. Like Ben works in finance and it's not his passion and like it's a job.
I'm awful at math, by the way, which is why she does the budgeting.
It's a job,
Right.
but through our DJ business, he's able to like have an outlet for things that he likes. So like just saying, just because your job is not like glamorous doesn't mean that there's not a really strong beauty to like working hard and doing your best, and the Lord will bless that. And you being like just a good worker for your employer, like that is, it's going to be seen and they're going to respect it and hopefully compensate you for your good, good job. But
Right. And for like, the younger people, or not even necessarily the younger people in the room, but like, there's an unhealthy emphasis on like follow your dreams and do what's most important to you. And if you want to be a movie star, you should pursue that. And it's like, yeah, but am I really going to be the next Ryan Reynolds? No, I'm not. Like, let's be real. I'm not going to be Ryan Reynolds. And so it's like, my dream was like, I want to be a professional guitar player and I'm on tour with Bon Jovi or whoever. And like, I'm not good enough. Like the reality, like
you sacrifice
Yeah.
to be that. Like you
And
could
actually,
be, but you probably wouldn't have me or our
my
kids.
dad sat me down and said something that like, maybe a public school guidance counselor would say was mean, but it really, I wanted to be a musician and I wanted to, my music to be played on the radio and all this stuff. And my dad sat me down and he was like, odds are that's not going to happen. And frankly, you're great and you're really good at what you do, but you're just not good enough. And it sounds really mean. My dad sounds really weird, but
Yeah,
he was right. And my dad is a little weird. But really, I mean, he's right. And it's almost like I feel like some young people in the world today need to be told, like, you're not going to be a movie star. You're not going to be a rock star. But you're good at something. There's a skill that is inside you that God put in there. And it may not necessarily be something that you love to do. It's not your dream. Like, I want to be a YouTuber and I want to, whatever.
And you have to look at your motivation for that.
Right,
Is it because
yeah.
you don't want to work hard? Because you're never going to get anywhere good without working hard. So if you
Right.
think something looks easy and that's why you want to
Right.
do it,
Right. But like God put a skill in you that is specific to you, and what you do for work in a lot of ways, like you can benefit a lot from that skill that God put in you. And so really that's like the search is like finding what am I really good at? Anyway, that's a little side note.
And can we say the Mike Rowe quote?
Yes.
Mike Rowe is amazing and awesome, and he's all about like blue collar work and like.
He's the dirty jobs guy. In case you didn't know.
Yes, he's awesome. But he says, never follow your passion, but always bring it with you. So passion is fickle. You want to do one thing one day, you don't want to do another day. And he's just saying, work hard, wherever you are. So never follow your passion, but always bring it with you. Yeah. I love that. I think it's awesome. Random.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. I was going to say a random other side hustle is like Airbnbs. Not realistic for everybody, but it is a way that you could make extra money by hosting people in your home or if there's like a property or space that you own. There are random ways now to make money.
Yeah,
and there's
that's great.
things that you need to keep in mind and safety and all that stuff, but just kind of throwing things out there.
Yeah, if you have an extra room in your house or like you have an in-law suite attached to your house, that's a great way to make some extra money. Yeah. Airbnb. Yeah. So now let's talk about how to save money. So I think you made this slide. Or wait, did we make this together actually?
I don't remember.
You put a PowerPoint presentation together, and you're like, "What did I do? What was I thinking when I wrote that down?" Like, okay, so your budget. Okay, yeah, your budget should include savings. So she was talking before about, this is X amount we have for housing. This is what we set aside for groceries or whatever. Ideally, if you're able to, you should set aside some every month or every other week for saving. A really great way to do that is going back to the banks. Maybe your employer actually has a way for them to split your paycheck up to go into two separate accounts. That's
by
a
percentages.
Thing. My employer does not do that. So what I had to do is my paycheck gets direct deposited into our bank account. And then you can set up an automatic transfer between accounts. So I've just got, however much it is.
Yeah, money,
I don't even know.
going into your savings.
Right. So it's just
every
a set amount. Every paycheck.
Period.
There's X amount of money, $15 or whatever, that goes into a savings account. Every little bit matters because
it really does.
It adds up super quickly. Because and I say that to make sure that you have a cushion for like unexpected things, because like your car's gonna break down or your kid's gonna break an arm or you're gonna break an arm or something's gonna happen. You're gonna have some unexpected costs. So to have some extra money that you can drop on your, on these unexpected things is really helpful.
Yeah. And even having the separate savings account, stuff that's more mundane savings, car registration, like he was saying, license renewal, car repairs. And then there's like fun savings, like, vacations and patios that you don't have to put in yourself and stuff. And then, health, obviously, unexpected health problems. A great rule of thumb I heard was like to have, if you pay for your own health insurance, whatever your deductible is, to try and have that saved so that, that's like the most that you're going to have to pay with your insurance. Just something to keep in mind. And that goes into the HSA thing that we were going to...
Yes. So obviously the health insurance field is changing a ton, and it has changed in the last 8 years, like completely different. So like what my work does, and your work might be the same or it might be a little different. We have like a high deductible plan, so it's like $6,000. Any medical expenses under $6,000, I have to pay for myself. But they give us something called an HSA account, which stands for Health Savings Account. And basically what it is they drop $500 in there at the beginning of each year, and then I can contribute to that as I need to, as I want to. So I have, X amount of money a month that goes into my HSA account through my employer. And this is all going to get super technical, and if you fall asleep, I do not blame you. So basically with our HSA account, we have a specific debit card that we can go to CVS and use for prescriptions, or if we need...
Yeah, I use it for our dentist appointments.
Yeah, dentist appointments, anything that's health related.
You can pull from this account.
Right. So the question would be, go ahead. Oh, okay. So so employer matching, that's a great point. So that's, where did I put that on there? Oh, okay, employer matching. So next, retirement. Yeah. So we'll skip ahead a little bit to retirement here. So similar to your HSA, and I'll finish with HSA and then we'll talk about retirement. So basically, your employer, we have our HSA account that our employer puts X amount of dollars in, and the benefit of having that is that money is not taxed. So the concept of that is every time you get paid money, some of that gets taken out and given to Uncle Sam, and that's just the way of life. So, but the money that you put into an HSA account, it's as if it's still your money, but Uncle Sam I'm trying to think of how to explain this. Okay. So it's not taxable. So like say if your paycheck is, we'll say $100, all right, and you put $10.
He's not good at math, so we'll just see how this goes.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. So your paycheck is $100. You put $10 into your HSA account. You got paid $100, but because the HSA is not taxable, Uncle Sam thinks that you made $90, and so it's a concept where you're not actually paying tax on that $10. Does that make sense? And it's a similar thing going to your point with employer matching. So we'll jump ahead. It's the same concept with 401ks, except it's more long term. So do you have another question? Yeah, it's all good. So not really. It's not connected to the government. An HSA account it's
through your employer.
Right. It's through your employer, or you can set one up not through your employer. But basically, what happens is it's the same concept as putting money into an IRA account. So basically, if you put $5,000 into an IRA or an HSA account, I'm not sure what the limit is for an HSA, but you put money into your IRA or your HSA, you can deduct that from your earnings. So like when you get, your payment, your money for the year was $30,000, but I contributed $5,000 to my HSA account, you only have to pay taxes on $25,000 because that $5,000 is not taxable. Does that make sense? And it's the same concept for retirement. And this is, it's kind of hard to explain because it definitely, when you first hear it, you're like, wait a second, what the heck are you talking about? So it's the same concept for 401ks and same concept for IRAs. Money that you put into these accounts is not taxable. So Uncle Sam is saying, he sees you made $100, you put $50 into your retirement account, so I say I only take money off of the $50 that's left. That's the concept.
And this is something that people can talk with their employers and like human resources and whatever, like to know if they offer HSAs and 401ks and
right, exactly.
They'll be able to explain it for your situation.
Right. So an HSA you can get pretty much anywhere, but a 401k, which is what we're talking about, saving for retirement, most employers offer some form of saving for retirement. And a 401k is exactly what we were talking about, the same concept as an HSA, where you put money in, you put X amount of dollars in over the course of your life, and that money is not taxable. You haven't paid any tax on it. But then you get taxed when you retire. So like right now, I put money in my 401k. I'm not paying taxes on that money that I earned and put away in the savings account. But I'm going to get taxed on it later when I retire at 65 years old or whatever and take that money out. It's then taxed as ordinary income. So then when I'm 65 and I take out the money that I put in now when I'm 30, it's as if I'm earning that money at age 65. That's the concept. Now should we go there? I was going to talk about, so there's another concept called Roth accounts. So there's something called a Roth 401k or a Roth IRA, and that's another way to save. I guess really quick before we talk about that. So to your point with employer matching, what a lot of employers do, and you should look into this with wherever you work, they'll do something called employer matching. So if you put in, like my employer does 6%. If I put up to 6% of my paycheck into a 401k, they match that money. So what happens is if your employer offers a 401k and offers employer matching, if you don't take advantage of that, you're leaving money on the table, basically.
They'll double
right.
your
You're
money.
essentially doubling your money with employer matching, and it is huge heady concept to like try and understand when you're like trying to understand it for the first time, but it's definitely a thing, and it's a great way to save for retirement. So now we'll talk about the Roth account. So there's another thing called a Roth IRA. I don't want you to go out and just like, hey, I'm opening a IRA, or I'm opening a 401k. There's another option called Roth, where that money is taxable right now. So it comes out, it's after tax money. So like Uncle Sam took his $10 of your $100 paycheck, you're taking that from that $90, you're then putting in your Roth 401k. And the benefit of that is you're paying the tax on it now so that you don't have to pay tax on it later. So if I am contributing to a Roth 401k now, I pay the taxes now. It's when I go to take it out when I'm 65, I just take it and it's mine, and Uncle Sam has nothing to do with it at that point. So that's a really great benefit if you're young. So basically, any young person in here who's working, you should open a Roth 401k. I mean, obviously, I can't give you investment advice, but you should do that. Absolutely, 100%. You should talk to your employer tomorrow. Do you offer Roth 401ks? Yeah. So the difference is how it's taxed. So like the money that you put in a regular 401k, it comes out of your paycheck before the government sees it. So it's as if, so you're not paying taxes on that money that you put in a regular 401k. With a Roth 401k, it's money after your employer sees your pay, or after the government sees your paycheck. So that's the concept.
Versus later.
Right. It's really just, do I want to pay taxes now or later? Yes, Jewel. Well, so you can only contribute to a 401k if you have earned income. So if both of you are working and both of you have earned income, yeah, absolutely you should. Especially if your employer is matching it. If your employer has matching contributions, you should definitely contribute. Go ahead. So you can, a Roth one you can do, so there's two types of, there's all sorts of types of retirement accounts that you can open. So a 401k is one that you have to do through an employer. There's also something called an IRA, which stands for Individual Retirement Account. Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. That's so, and I'll answer your question. Gotcha. Yeah, it's confusing because there's so many different types. And honestly, if you guys want to come and talk to me afterwards, we can totally talk and get deep into the weeds of these things if you want. Because this is what I do all day, every day. And it actually is really interesting. Yeah, it's the same concept for Roth, or traditional is what it's called. So traditional IRA, Roth IRA. You're paying with traditional, you're paying the taxes later when you retire. With Roth, you're paying the taxes now. And the benefit, here's the concept. Here's why there's those two, basically, the reason that I would contribute to a Roth now is because I'm anticipating on making less money at this point in my life than I will be later on in life. So I hope that by the time I'm 65 and retiring, I'm making more money than I did when I was 30. And so that's the concept. Because when I'm 30, the money that I take out of my 401k when I'm 60, when I'm 65, the money that I would take out of my 401k is going to be added to whatever income I also have. So like so your
taxes will be a lot more.
When I'm 65 years old, if I'm making, it'd be awesome, $100,000 a year. When I take money out of my 401k, it's as if I made let's say I took $5,000 out. It's as if I made $105,000. Whereas if I, do a Roth, the taxes are paid now when I only make, whatever I make.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you. Sorry.
Yes. So, and then we were just going to say investments, like.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But I think you had another question, didn't you? Or.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's honestly, it's a risk you're taking either way, because we don't know what the tax system is going to be like in 50 years. We have no idea. And so, but I mean, obviously these concepts are going to stay the same, but that's like the idea. It's not a risk you're taking really. It's, but it is kind of a risk. It's,
do if I need the money when I'm 65. I mean, these are all like we're getting deep into the weeds here. But yeah, go ahead. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So ideally, if you have earned income right now, if you're working a job, you should be saving for retirement right now because there's a thing called compound interest, which is awesome and it blows your mind. But like your money, like and Dave Ramsey has a fact, like if you put, and this was when I was like 19 that he was talking about this. If you put $1,000 a year into a Roth account, a Roth IRA now, into like whatever. S&P 5, that's into whatever investments in that Roth IRA now, by the time you're 65 years old, you will be a millionaire. That's the concept. That's how compounding interest works. So like it's
So the sooner the better, basically.
right. So the sooner the better. Like if I started right now putting money into a Roth 401k, I am way better off than the dude who's 45 putting money in his Roth 401k.
And how does it?
Because I have 15 extra years on him to get that interest compounding. We can talk about
Does it matter what she was saying, like if you change jobs?
No, it doesn't. So, it matters if it's a 401k, but you can
It should be
transfer those.
transferable.
Yeah, you
okay,
can
so that shouldn't discourage you.
No, absolutely
No
not.
matter
Yeah, if you
what
change
job
jobs,
you're
it
at.
goes with you. And if you set up like a Roth IRA, you can set that up at your bank. You can set it up at an investment company. You can set it up anywhere. It's separate from your employer. So the term IRA is, again, it stands for individual retirement account. That's you as an individual retirement account. Your 401k, I don't know what it stands for. Obviously, it's like some sort of IRS code, 401k, and that's like the, whatever, this massive IRS book code. So that's why it's called that. It's an IRS rule. But that goes by employer. So yes, if you move your employer with your 401k, you got to transfer that or, roll it over. And that's another concept that we can talk about too. But so these are all, we got deep into the weeds there, but it's
I got
good.
nitty gritty and boring.
Yeah, but it's interesting and it's good and it's really important because
Right.
like talking about what we started at the very beginning, which is like money problems, you pass them on to your kids really. Like credit card debt doesn't end with you. You pass it on to your kids. And so, but the other benefit of that is your retirement savings. Like it doesn't stop with you. You can pass it on. Like, again, that's the American dream is like, I started with nothing, or this person, whoever started with nothing. They ended up with a little something when they died that they were able to pass on to their kids. And so they're a little bit further along in the race when they start. And, ideally the cycle goes on. That's the American dream. Do you have another question? Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. No, they will not give you a removal fee. No. They do? Oh, sorry. Are you talking about taking money out for yourself or like moving to a different employer? Oh, taking it out for yourself. Absolutely. Sorry. That's a good concept. I'm glad you brought it out. Yes. Thank you, Bill. That is correct. I thought you were talking about when you move employers. There's no fee to move from one employer to another
But taking
and
money
roll it
out.
over. Right.
You do
Taking
have
money
a
out. Absolutely. So if you put money in a 401k now and you want to take it out next year before you retire, it's a 10% penalty from the IRS.
Isn't the only other like when we bought our first house?
Right. There's some if you
We
have
didn't have a
if you
penalty.
are buying your first house, you can take money out for free and they won't charge you for it. There's certain rules, but that concept is yes. So don't put something in a 401k or a Roth IRA. Like don't be like, "Oh, here's my whole paycheck. I'm going to put it into an IRA," because that's not smart because you're going to have to access that money. Like what we're talking about here with investments and
Extra.
retirement, this is all extra money. This is like
After your bills
right.
and
This
your-
is ideally, to start with a Roth 401k is like, I work a job, I live at my parents' house, and I eat my parents' food. That's a perfect time to invest in a Roth IRA.
Yeah.
So that's the concept there. But yes, don't put your grocery money into your IRA account because you're just going to have to take it out, and they're going to hit you with a 10% penalty. So like if you put, yeah, go ahead, Bill. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, consider it gone if it's in the 401k, right?
Right,
Right,
exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah, the term that like obviously a 401k is a retirement account, and the term IRA, individual retirement account, they're for retirement, and the government will hit you with a big fee if you take it out and you're not retiring or you're not old enough to retire, which they deem as 65 years old, I think, still, right? 65? Yeah. 59 and a half, that's what it is. That's right, that's what it is. What's that?
I said 4 years closer.
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
I mean, you just had investments, just like
Yeah,
a couple
so
of things,
I have a
but-
little blurb about investments here. So if you're interested in investing money, you know, obviously we talked for a long time about IRAs and 401ks and that type of thing. But basically the concept is if you're investing in things that's not a retirement account, like you're not putting money in a 401k, or a Roth IRA, and instead you're just putting it into like the stock market. Like I want to buy some Facebook stock or whatever, Google stock. Like the concept that you would want to have in your head is don't invest anything you can't afford to lose. So if you want to buy Facebook stock and you want to put $500 in Facebook stock, it needs to be $500 that you're fine without. Like if Facebook goes bankrupt and that money is gone, you're okay. So that's the concept.
And that's, that might be a whole other
Right.
level.
Yeah. So anyway.
But like so Ben was saying, if you're looking at having minimal living expenses because like that's how you're going to be able to save money to either put toward debt or just save for the future. A life example for us is Ben and I had decent savings in our early years of marriage, like I said, before we had kids. And a deal came up on Craigslist where Ben bought a sound system for a really, really affordable price. And at that time, we had money to buy it. He knew it was a really good deal. And so that sound system was what we used our first year of DJing. So we were able to upgrade the following year after we had made some profit from DJing. But if we hadn't purchased that sound system 2 or 3 years prior, when we could afford to, spend that money, it would not have been nearly as easy for us to just jump right into like having a side business. So just the idea of like, taking advantage of good opportunities, but just like saving, like literally just the fact that we lived really minimally in other ways too. We were able to like pay for a car when my car got totaled and stuff that just like is such a blessing to not have to take a loan out for things. It's just gonna help you all the more.
Yeah.
So saving is awesome.
Right. And we got just some helpful resources for you here. These are things that we like, obviously. So we have some friends, actually friends of ours that put this on. It's called the Frugal Friends Podcast. And literally the whole podcast is them talking about like ways to save money and cut expenses.
Yeah,
and little side hustles you can do.
Yeah, like tips on everything. How they've been doing it for a year now. So every Friday they come out with one. So there's 52 episodes about like how to save money doing everything, traveling, yard sale tips, but like living expense. Like they do all these hacks, which is awesome. So yeah, you can find them just anywhere that you get podcasts. Frugal Friends are awesome. Ben already mentioned the Dave Ramsey show.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, it's for free. So just go on YouTube
just
and start
getting
watching.
knowledge
Yeah.
about it
Yeah.
is so easy. And then anybody that that's good with money, just
Right.
like
And
talk to them.
Here's a side note about. I mean, I'm not sure about Frugal Friends, but Dave Ramsey like is a Christian, and so to like have
Frugal
it from,
Friends are Christians.
Yeah, so to have it from that perspective, like Dave Ramsey's really great at like bringing all of these concepts that I just like like shoddingly, is that a term?
I don't know.
Shoddingly like explain to you. Like he's really
Amateurish?
great at amateurishly explain to you.
No,
it's,
you did.
It's to he like boils it down to like everyday human language, but then he turns it around and he sees it from like the light of a
Biblical,
believer, how it applies to a believer. And he says like live like no one else right now so that later you can live like no one else, basically being like be the weird guy that has a basic phone now so that later on, you're the guy who's like, yeah, I don't have any debt actually. It's a really, it's a cool concept. So, I mean, that's pretty much. Are there any other questions? There's our email up there if you have questions for us or.
We'll forward them to Bill. Just kidding.
Yeah, good. A credit score, yeah. So, just like the name implies, a credit score has to do with a credit card, or really not necessarily a credit card, but that's like the concept we'll explain right now. So basically, your credit score is a score between 0 and 760 or something like that, or 8. What's that? 850. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, and it's basically there's some companies that basically track how you live your life, how you live your money life. And if you're not good with money, they attach a score to you. So if you've got like a 200 score, your credit score is 200, that's like really bad. And so the importance of having good credit, and paying off, like if you have a credit card and you use that credit card and you pay it off every month, the benefit is that these companies view you in good standing, and so there's certain benefits of that. You were able to get a lower interest rate when you go to apply for a loan, or they are more inclined to give you a loan because you have a good credit score.
It's like how well you pay back money.
Right. Yeah. It's basically yeah. So just the concept of if you have a credit card, like be really careful with it, because it's not just like I got $10,000 in debt. It's no big deal. I'll pay it off before I die. It can affect you. It can affect you in a tangible way with your credit score, because that stuff is tracked, and they
So it's crack.
Yeah, it's tracked, and they know basically, going by your spending patterns and your repayment patterns, whether
Trust you with
whether
their
they trust
money
you with
or
their
whatever.
money.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
Having a cell phone bill too is a way to build it, because I was like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of a
you're off the
bummer,
grid.
but
Yeah.
that's the way it is.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, right, exactly.
right.
Yeah. And there's ways, like Capital One has a credit card that's got a super low max, like they
Amount,
won't let
yeah.
you spend more than like $500 or something like that. So that's a great place to start. That's how we got our first credit card, was through Capital
Because
One.
we didn't really have credit when we got married,
Yeah,
because
we
we,
had no
never
credit.
had credit cards, didn't have any loans or anything, which was really good. I wouldn't trade that for the other, but
But there were, I
guess there were times.
Yeah, there are negatives to not having
Yeah.
a credit score. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really buy into that. I don't buy into that. Yeah, it's really conspiracy theory. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it does. I don't think they look at it. I mean, obviously I'm not like a, credit score company, but I don't think they look at it that granularly, especially like if you're like 23, like that, they're not looking at it that. Right. Right. I mean, yeah, they have their system set up so that it's, yeah. Exactly. Right. Yeah, for the average everyday person, it doesn't really. It's not really a thing. Especially
Paying it
right.
off in full is definitely always what you want to
Yeah,
do.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I already received my credit card a bill in the mail and I pay it off and I pay it all off the next day. Would that damage me or would that
So it's going to benefit you either way. It's really like the question that we're asking here is how much is it going to benefit me? Like, and really, like if you're talking like $200 in credit cards, like that's negligible. It's hardly anything. Is whether you pay it, 2 weeks now or in 2 weeks. It's a very negligible difference.
Once you receive it in the mail, Jonathan, then that's saying that it's due, so that's okay. What Bella's talking about is
Like checking online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and just one tip with that, what I have done also is to make sure I knew that I had the money to pay off a credit card payment is like whenever I would spend, like say on Amazon, we have like an Amazon rewards, like one of their credit cards because we do buy stuff on Amazon a lot, so we get 5% back. So it was like a good idea. So whenever I would spend something, I would transfer that money from my like main checking into the account that it was going to come out of, like that vacation checking account, so that it's gone. Like I know, okay, I spent the money. I'm not paying it back on the credit card yet, but that money is spoken for, so that I just myself know I'm not like spending money I don't have, basically. So anyway, yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, it's a great idea. Obviously, it's, and what we're talking about here is money after, like whenever we talk about like child savings or even like the IRAs that we were talking before, this is after you've paid all your bills, after you've paid all your debts, and you've saved a little bit of money.
Or like have
for
money
cushioning.
going
Right.
toward dets.
Right. Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Like
I guess, again, I'm not thinking of a mortgage, but like if you have credit card debt, like obviously you shouldn't be putting money into an IRA account. But
Yeah.
so yeah, but there is something called a 529 plan where if you have kids, you can put a little bit of money, and I don't know what the limits are. They limit you on how much you can contribute, but basically it's the same concept as an IRA. It's not taxable money that you can set aside, that you can put in different investment vehicles. I don't know I think there might be a restriction on whether you can invest in stocks, but like you could do mutual funds and that type of thing, so that when your child goes to college, they can use that money to pay for those expenses, and it's tax deductible. Like the money that you put into it is tax deductible.
for now, we just have 3 accounts, that have like $75 in them or something.
Right, yeah, we just
they
put a
call
little
them
bit aside,
trustee
yeah.
accounts. So yeah, we just like when we can kind of put stuff away. But again, that's like after, your other bills and stuff.
Cool. So
Anything else?
that's pretty much it for us. Obviously, if you guys have any questions, come up and talk to us, and we'd be happy to chat with you. And we're gonna get some ice cream.
If you guys can just hold on for a
Sure.
second, we're going to kind of piggyback on some of the things you said.
Perfect.
I take a lot of notes.
Yeah, that's
like
good.
it.
So for those who don't know, if I could shave a penny in 2, I would, because I'm the cheapest human being known on mankind.
I've seen him like run across a parking lot for a penny that's on the ground,
and that's a good day.
and
Like,
stop a car to like get one. Like if we're driving along, it's crazy.
That's also true. So those who have an electric bill, PA Power Switch allows you to buy your electric bill at a certain rate from different customers. So if you're willing to check it every 30 days or 90 days, you can get it at almost half the price you can at a normal place. So that's one place that could save some money.
Yeah, so we do ours every 90 days. There's like restrictions on how quick you can do
Okay,
them, but it's about every 90 days, and you just log online and you're able to switch it. You just need your current thing, and it really doesn't even change like where your bill goes, so you don't have to change everything in your online banking.
What's the benefit? Like how much are we talking a month? Because I've
it's-
seen those, but I've never actually.
It's fairly significant. It can be
Yeah.
10 to 20% of your electric bill.
Wow.
And it's really, I mean, when you're looking at an electric bill, you're looking for something that's going to be a set kilowatt hours cost. And those numbers go up and down throughout the year, which is why you would look every 90 days or so. And what it does is it puts it out there for these are all the available ones, and you kind of just can switch to the one. So even if you're with Pico, your bill kind of still comes from Pico, but it like basically the energy is being generated elsewhere, and you can get it cheaper. And for us, it's 10-20% sometimes.
That's awesome.
$200 bill.
And it's
that's
not
great.
and not every time is it that much better.
Right.
You know, so it's a very easy thing. It takes you like 10 minutes. So if you papowerswitch.com, it's just
You
an
Google
online
those.
thing.
There's a couple
And it's
companies
super easy.
that will also do promotions where they'll try to sell you something if you sign up through them for a certain period of time. Generally, they're more expensive, which is why they're able to give you free junk.
I don't know. I got a nice Google Home last time we switched,
true.
and it was cheaper.
Nice.
One of the things too, like you guys pointed out, make sure you're writing down a budget and tracking where you're spending. We have a handful of different credit cards, and it's so important to go back through and say, okay, we went to Chick-fil-A 23 times last month. We should
Yeah.
probably like lower that a little bit. It's so easy to just you buy it and then you don't think about it. And it's like, oh yeah, we did that. Oh, that was last week, not last year. Okay, I should probably not buy one of those again. So having a physical budget, we use Excel. You guys have the app, it looks like. So
Yeah.
yeah, so they're all good, but you have to put the time and energy into going back and tracking it.
Something also that the Frugal Friends talk about is like having no spend months. So if it's like you just feel like, man, we're just like so tight, it's just like literally take a month and just no spend, meaning like we're not going to eat out for this month, or we're, like I'm not going to buy some new clothes for this month or whatever. Just like take it a little bit at a time. It doesn't have to be this like life change that feels really overwhelming, even if it's just like, okay, I don't even know where to start. Let's just start with this month and, anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, little things add up. I was just like your Chick-fil-A point. Like, if you go to something like Chick-fil-A or McDonald's or whatever, like 10 times in a month, which is not it's not a crazy amount to go. Like that's, spending $7, like it's $70 a month. That's a hefty payment. So.
Yeah. Remember, if you're going to college, they're going to harass you like every 10 minutes and try to get you to open a credit card and give you a free T-shirt. Free T-shirt is not worth it. All right.
Unless it's really cool. I'm just
I
kidding.
know we've talked a little bit about our credit. We have a couple credit cards. I'm sure you guys have a credit card or two at least. If you are somebody who can spend responsibly, look for the credit cards that are going to give you some kind of bonus. So we have almost all of our stuff on credit cards, and we pay it off every month on the two that we have, and then we have the Amazon one as well. And I make about $100 a month on an Amazon credit card in cash back, and we make about $75 or so a month back in cash back on our credit cards. We have a different one we use for gas because that one is higher on gas cash back, but that only works if you can control your spending and you're not spending above your means. If it's too much of a temptation, don't open them. It's not worth it. So a couple other things that we've done to really save some money or to make money. We do Facebook Marketplace, which you mentioned. We buy stuff off of there. I get the Munchkins little clothes for like pennies to the dollar. So I just bought her entire next 6-month wardrobe for about $100, and I think there was about 500 pieces of clothing in there. So it's like 20 cents an article. If I go to Kohl's, I'm going to get about 10 items. So huge difference. And they have everything on there. But we also sell stuff on there. So I have a couple sites that I use, and I get a lot of free stuff as a product tester. A lot of free stuff, which is how we get so much Amazon credit back because everything's through Amazon. And between that and just looking through our house, I've made $700 this past month just in selling stuff on Facebook yard sale. And it was stuff we didn't need or stuff that I got for free and I just resold. So there's ways that you can kind of do that if you're like, okay, rather than just donating them, especially if you're donating to like Goodwill or something, rather than donating them, blessing somebody else so it doesn't end up in the landfill is a great way to do it. And, I mark things way down just to get them to move. But also, people love deals. Another thing that we did is we talked about cell phones. So 2-3 years ago, we found out we were paying about $225 a month in cell phones for 3 cell phones. Your dad wasn't on there then. 3 cell phones with data lines. We were like, that's nuts. Can't believe we're doing this. So we went, so that was a Sprint. So we went over to Cricket Wireless. We spend $90 now for 3 smartphones with unlimited data. And if we add up to 5 people, it's only a max of $100. So there's plans out there like that. So just like you're not always stuck with what you have. So when you're looking at shopping around, sometimes it's shopping outside of the norm. It's looking for alternatives. So if you really love your smartphone and you don't want to get rid of that, look for ways of maybe lowering that bill. I don't know what else you have on your list.
You guys talk about side jobs or side hustles. One of the ones for a summer, I just mowed my friend's yard. Like, he was from the city, he hated mowing it, so I'd go over there every 2 weeks and just mow the yard, $30. Very easy. We have Rent-A-Teen that works a lot of the same way.
Babysitting. I just hired a girl to babysit for us once a week. Like, you know, she's gonna make $20 for 2 hours to come in and babysit. So there's all these, like, if you're looking for a little bit of extra, there's always these little side things that you
LA
can be
Gaming
doing.
does metal stamping and makes jewelry. That's if you can get a second job, like you guys mentioned, even coaching a sports team in the afternoons, you're able to disciple younger students, and you're also able to get back, but they do pay. Uber and Lyft, I know some of you guys know have people that do Uber and Lyft. There was a time where I was working at a church part-time, but I needed more income, so I worked as a janitor at Central Bucks School District at $18 an hour. So I was pulling $1,000 a month for working 2.5 nights a week. That was after taxes. Photography is a big one. Everybody needs some good photos. One other question I had before we close out for you guys is, so for savings accounts, if they want to save for a house or a car, would they go through a normal savings account, or would they want to try to get something else?
I mean, I guess kind of if you're savings for a car, I would just do a normal savings account. I mean, was there something you were thinking of, or
Mutual funds, how do those, when would they want to jump in from a mutual fund to versus just a regular savings?
Okay, so
Or at least try to get the higher interest.
yeah, it really depends. I tread this water very, very gently, because whenever you're getting into like mutual funds or anything like that, there's no guarantees on anything. You could make a ton of money. You could make 18%. Like last year, or maybe not last year, the year before that, the S&P 500 index was like way high, and people were making 20% interest rate, and it's insane. But then, start of this year, it was down, and people were losing tons of money on these investments. So I say, the other thing is the cost of a mutual fund. Like, it's not free to put money into a mutual fund account. So if you're like something like a mutual fund or stocks or anything like that, anything that's an investment is not a short-term thing. It's always like long-term. So like, yeah, if you're looking at the history of the S&P 500 index, it's gone up 300% since the market crash in 2008 or whatever. It's an astronomical percent that it's gone up. But it's also gone down a little bit in there. So, you can't really time it. You can't be like, oh, I want to save for a car in 6 months, so I'm going to put some money into a mutual fund. Like, you could lose money on that, actually. And so if it's like something, 6 months, a year, 2 years, I want to save up, just put it in a savings account. You might get or a CD is another thing, certificates of deposit that you can get at a bank. Those are guaranteed money, and they'll give you an interest rate. So if you're like, I want to buy a new car in 5 years, you can put that money in a 5-year CD. Again, you can't get it for 5 years, but you are guaranteed a set amount of money. You're guaranteed 5% or whatever they're paying now, maybe 2% or something like that, instead of just putting it in a regular savings account and earning practically nothing. So that's a good question.
I always like asking financial guys this last question here.
Yeah.
What do you think of I bonds or EE bonds?
I bonds or EE bonds? I really know very little about them.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the ones where like you get it directly through the government, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's. Like, again, that's a long-term investment vehicle. I have no clue what they're paying right now.
Yeah. The interest is like almost nothing.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it's probably at there. I know people have done in the past, but, what would you say? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Bill. Some of them work different. Most of them are you put a set amount in, and and please someone jump in and tell me. It's been a while since I worked in a bank. Most of them, you put a set amount in, and they'll have like a $500 minimum. So you have to put at least, like, say, $500 in. But you get, like if you put $1,000 in and it's 5% interest or whatever, like after the course of X amount of years, you started with $1,000 and now you have,
like you'll know what it would be in 5 years, and if that's enough for what you're thinking
right
saving for.
Yeah. So some of them work in different ways. You can't. The idea is you can't take the money out. You can. It's just the same concept as you get hit with a fee, a penalty for taking it out. So the benefit to you is that I'm guaranteed an X amount of money when I put this into a CD at the end of it.
That can't be what you pull from for like car repairs.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah, forget about
exactly,
it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of an investment. Like whenever something's an investment, there is risk involved. So that's kind of where I like talk about it very, very gingerly, because
it's not something
I would
to just
never
like,
tell someone like, oh yeah, you should go put money in a mutual fund, or you should invest in a mutual fund account, because they might come to me a week later and be like, hey, guess what? I lost $500. Thanks, Ben. Like that type of thing. And it's like, so it's a very like touchy
That's why
subject.
there's people that's their job.
Right.
is
Exactly. There's
Dealing
people
with your investments. And
which is why I
helping
say,
you.
like with investments, that like I think the only bullet point on there was, don't invest money that you can't afford to lose. That's the concept.
You also said Vanguard could be
right. So if we wanted to go down that road and invest in mutual funds, there's a company called Vanguard, and they're massive. There's another company called BlackRock, and they're also massive. And you can invest in a mutual fund for practically nothing. And so it's like if you have X amount of $1,000 or $100, like if you got $500, you're like, I don't really care if I just want to see what happens to this in 10 years. You can put it into a mutual fund at Vanguard, and you get you get market exposure, which is what that's called, to stocks and that type of thing. So you get market exposure, and it's practically free. Like it's like 0.004% that it costs you to pay it. Right.
Now we have a couple people getting ready to get married, a couple people getting ready to buy houses for the first time. A couple just real quick things that I've learned from a couple of these guys, especially Dave Ramsey. I've listened to some of his stuff. One of the things he says is make sure you have 2 months worth of everything in your emergency savings. So before you should really be starting to save up for everything else is making sure that you have an emergency savings set aside. Your credit card should not be your emergency fund. You should have an emergency fund that's basically 2 months worth of what your expenses are, just in case something happens. Another thing, especially that we're learning right now, is we're looking at putting new windows in our house, and they are crazy. We have quotes from $7,000 to $25,000. So we got multiple quotes. But we also asked every single person if there was a cash discount. So if we paid right then, rather than doing credit card or doing their financing, almost every single one of them, it was $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 cheaper if you had the cash and you were able to just pull it out of your savings account. So that's huge. Don't be afraid to ask. My mom asks for cash discounts everywhere she goes. She'll go to the doctor's office and her copay will be $50, and she will still step up and be like, if I pay cash, is that anything less? And that's because every place has to pay about a 4% fee to run your credit card. So that's why they do it. So some places will give you a cash discount. She asks everywhere. Last thing I have, and I know we're just wrapping up, we're going to go get some ice cream sundaes because that's what Michaela's here for. Is if you are looking for somebody to go through your budget with you, George and I are happy to do that. I'm sure Ben and Hannah are happy to do that. It doesn't have to be because you're in distress. Maybe it is because you're in distress and you just need somebody to help you put everything together so you can start getting your finances in order. Or maybe it's because you've never had a budget and you just kind of spend and hope for the best. We would be more than happy to do that. We have all had life experience with that, and I think we've all made the mistakes that we would rather have you guys not make, basically. So with that, I'll turn it over for you. And
Let's
then
give them a round of applause. Round of applause.
round of a hand.
Yeah. You start seeing hands fly up here.